We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. 12 o'clock on the dot. Hope everybody is well. If you're here already, fantastic. If you are not, don't worry. We're going to get started in about 90 seconds, just to give people a chance to join. So yeah, just going to have to listen to me ramble on a bit. Denise, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to be here, Rich.
Yeah, good. You're not that far away from me, are you? You're in Kings Hill, so you're a stone's throw away.
Yeah, Kings Hill. Yeah, Westmoreling.
There you are, Westmoreland. Even closer to my last house. I'm now a bit further away, so I have to try a bit harder. But thank you for joining me virtually. If you are here, anybody else, please come and say hello whilst we're just waiting for people to join. Get into the comments, say hi. Tell us. Yeah, you might have to tell us who you are, because sometimes that doesn't come up on the comment section on the platform we're on. But say hi. Tell us where you're from. And if you have any questions throughout this, please jump in, because I do think, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that if you've got a question, it's going to be more relevant to the challenges of the workplace or challenges that you see around performance than mine, because you've been in it. I see it from a very different angle. So please, if you've got a question or a comment or anything for Denise, please jump in and get involved. So yeah, also helps the algorithm, gets more people seeing it. Look, that is 90 seconds done. Let's get into this. Denise, I said, thank you for joining me. Really appreciate you being here. You have got a fantastic wealth of experience, which I'm very excited to dive into. I'm very excited to hear about your experience within elite sport, what we can learn from that. We're also going to dive into a little bit of your book, which I'm excited to explore and look at some of those kind of lessons that you've shared or can share, and just kind of really good conversation about performance, both from I think we'll do probably a little bit from an athlete perspective, which we then bring into the workplace perspective, a little bit from like a coaching perspective, and / management perspective, and how we organize and create performance for others. And then obviously connecting that to the organization. So I'm just really excited to have a performance conversation with you, bringing in all that you've learned in your however many years of working at some of the elite level.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Sounds a really lovely conversation to have, Rich. Yeah, so I mean, as a way of introduction, I've been 30 years in performance sport, and my sport's netball, for those who don't know a netball. And you know, I had a torrid time of being an athlete. I had a much nicer time of being a coach, national coach. So I'd love to share, you know, what happened for me as an athlete, and you know, what I uncovered, if you like, as I went into national coaching.
Yeah, let's do it. Look, before we get into that, I would love a proper introduction. Tell us who you are, what you've done, the journey that's got you to where you are as well, because I think it just creates this picture. So when we get into some of these questions, people don't understand it. So yeah, look, I'm going to shut up. Over to you for the next little bit for your introduction and your journey for where you are, where you are.
Okay, all right. So let me see. I played for Kent when netball was played in county. I went to Hong Kong and lived there for 10 years. I did 4 years in Hong Kong, 2 years in Vancouver, Canada, back for 4 years. Played in 2 world championships, 1991 and 95. I did 2 Asian championships, captained the squad in India. And, you know, really got into human performance in a big way. How could I be at my best? In 1997, when the Chinese took over Hong Kong, I came back to England and set up my own business, Coaching for Excellence, and then became an England Super League coach. And that really started my journey, if you like, back here in England as a coach. So I did the England Super League Super Cup, went into Super League. And that's when Sky Sports came on board back in 2004. And then in 2008, I went for the Scotland national coach job and did that for 4.5 years, moving Scotland from 17th in the world to 12th in the world, and helping them to qualify for the Commonwealth Games for the first time in their history. And then in 2013, I left that role, if you like, somewhat prematurely, and 18 months out of the Commonwealth Games, which was incredibly painful experience for me. But what came of it was something incredible, because I really then got to see, I had a huge epiphany moment where I really started to see what was missing in my entire journey of being an athlete and as a coach. And that changed the course of my life. And since then, for the last 13 years, I have been traveling the world, really looking into the relationship between state of mind and performance. And the last 5 years, I've been writing my book, Play Freely, The Spiritual Key to Athletic Excellence. And this was published in October last year.
Congratulations. Thank you for the introduction. And so, look, I want to explore all of those lessons, right? And hopefully I can ask you some really great questions along this journey. My first one is, obviously you captained Hong Kong netball and played in World Championships. What were the biggest lessons and what the biggest performance lessons you learned as a player that shaped your coaching philosophy?
Okay, so as a player that made my coaching blossom. I love that question.
What helped shape your coaching philosophy?
Philosophy. You see, okay, so what I learned as an athlete is performance. You know, I put myself under huge amounts of pressure, and as an athlete, and I didn't have a great time. And as I really found that incredibly difficult, and I had to really grind out my performances, and I had to do anything I could to control and manage my thinking and my mind. And when I went into coaching, I realized how hard that was for athletes. And I was really, if you like, then curious about, well, how come sometimes I did have times where it would be easy and it would be effortless, if you like, in that zone state. But most of the time it was quite arduous. And so when I went into coaching, as my philosophy, I was very much, okay, how can I help players to unlock that freedom in themselves? And I didn't really find that. I was still looking at techniques when I was a national coach. I was looking at all sorts of affirmations, mental skills techniques. We use CBT, NLP, visualization. And I didn't really come across this, if you like, in my mind, this ultimate performance variable, which is understanding our state of mind. I didn't really come across that until I left my role. So now when I'm coaching now, if you like, I'm very much showing up with my athletes in a space of curiosity rather than me as the expert, having done 30 years. I'm like, okay, let's see how we can pool our resources and have much more respect, if you like, Richard, for the fact that athletes are a creative potential.
Oh, I really like that creative potential. It's interesting, right? Because I'm in the midst of my sporting career. I'd say near the end of probably my sporting career, unfortunately, although I'll continue to try and play. But when I played at my kind of peak, pressure was a huge thing. That pressure to perform, or the anxiety to perform, whichever way you want to look at it, right? So it's interesting to see how that is. But I also feel like there's this balance of pressure. I feel like I know that, right, from the work I do now, but there is this balance of, well, we need to have some pressure, right? So how do we create some pressure, but then also think about it from we don't need to have too much pressure, because the pressure then becomes anxiety, and the anxiety then will impact our performance. And so I'd love to know your insights on that look at the word pressure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. And I write about in this book, I think it's one of the 7 discoveries. And I titled the chapter, The Pressure Illusion. So for me, I started to see that actually pressure was not coming at me from the environment, that it wasn't a matter of circumstances, whether we're winning or losing, that it was wholly 100% a creation of the mind. And then I would be questioning, well, how helpful is that? How helpful is this feeling of anxiety and stress. And that for me is different. I mean, it's a different from, yes, there's an aliveness to it. All right. But I feel that when we don't really understand where pressure comes from, we're automatically in a victim mode, as if our identity is on the line, as if there is something to prove. And we lose the freedom to perform with this effortless ease. Because when you say that, Rich, I don't feel that there is pressure when I recall being, if you like, in the zone state, when I'm really on automatic. I don't even remember it, right? I don't remember needing to be pressure, a little bit alive, make sure I'm there. I don't remember any of that. So for me, I feel that we are, as human beings, at our best when we are connecting to this incredible potential, creative potential inside of us that just seems to know what to do. It seems to give us the wisdom, the resilience, the creativity, and the confidence to show up and just be in the moment.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
And in that moment, it just seems that we have everything we need.
Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it, how then the brain, the mind will then tell us when we have time to think about it that that's not the case, right? Because I think it's that ability, the pressure comes from time to think. When you're in the zone, right, you're in the zone and you're not thinking, you're performing. How do we stay in that state of mind when there isn't, when the time isn't there, or the time is there to think about, what happens if I mess up, or that narrator begins to play negatively with you? How did you? So you said you tried a lot of things with your players from a kind of coaching standpoint. What was the most successful thing you implemented in that time to help people?
I believe that there were times where we would manage and control our thinking. So we would identify, we would have awareness of the thinking that distracted us. And we would do a lot of what ifs, what if this, what if that, and control the controllables. So we would go through all sorts of case scenarios. And it seemed at the time that it was helpful. But since then, I see that, I don't know, Denise, does that not just fill your mind with a whole heap of thinking? And for me, I've seen that there is something better. There is something that we can understand about our experience and where it's coming from that allows us not to take our thinking so seriously. And Rich, if we don't take our thinking so seriously, like we can see that it's optional, it's passing, it's just energy, why would we need a technique to quieten it down? Why would we need a tool? Why would it bother us? If we can see that our experiences is made of this divine intelligence, this power of thought that gives us our experience. And I remember that actually just before it was in December 2012, we went to the Pacific. We had a test series in the Cook Islands, and it was one apiece. And we went over to Samoa, and it turns out that game was going to be the ultimate qualifying game for the Commonwealth Games, whether we were in 12th and didn't require a pink ticket. We were in 12th and we didn't require the host nation pink ticket, or we were going to be 13th and we were going to have to exercise our host right to be in the competition. And I remember that morning say, right, we're going to take the shooters down to the court. And we had 5 shooters actually. Normally you would probably normally have 4, but you had 5 shooters, 5 options. And I had this thought of, well, I wonder which of the shooters is going to be able to shoot under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be my usual thinking. And then something else came, and this really surprised me. And it was, I wonder which of the shooters can shoot irrespective of their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, there was a distinct difference, because one was very much coming from outside in perspective, that the circumstance is going to create the pressure. Mm-hmm. And the other one, which is, I wonder which shooter can shoot irrespective of their thinking, looks to this deeper creative potential in us, the space and the source of all human performance. And it looks upstream of our thinking. So the shooters that I just know they're going to have some pressure thinking, but really are not interested in it. They see it for what it is. They're not bothered by it. They're not identified by it. They're not giving meaning to their thinking, but they're going upstream to the love of the game. Mm-hmm. And for me, that started this journey, if you like, that there's something else to explore. And mm-hmm. that's what happened to me in 2013 when I left my role, is, life has a way of, now you're going to explore that.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Just thinking deeper than just shooting under pressure, but who's going to shoot with pressure?
With pressure thinking, and not know enough about state of mind that and how it works, that they don't take their thinking so seriously.
Yeah. Can I just go back to you as a player quickly? You said you struggled with pressure. And the reason why I want to just sit on pressure just for a little bit, because I think we can talk about performance. We can talk about performance a lot. And we can perform, and you can have some of the best performance until you add pressure. Right. And I can talk about, like, this is the ideal way that we want to do this, and we can execute that. And actually, when I think about it from a work standpoint, obviously this is how I help people. The main area of me helping people is, we can talk about these great things, but then a deadline comes in. It needs to be done by Friday. You've got 3 days to do it. How then do you perform under pressure? And so I just want to, before we get in, I want to see from your side, how did you manage or learn to manage the pressure within as a player? How did you get to that? Because you had a long career as a player. How did you learn to get to that point where you began to manage that pressure?
Yeah, so as a player, I would have had times where, for some strange reason, I would just fall into this state of being able to shoot and just to be able to play. You know, the title of my book, Play Freely. And then there would be other times, most of the time, where I would have to battle it out. I would have to use my tools and techniques to quieten my mind. But it's interesting that even though I had a lot going on in my mind, I was still able to play. Mm-hmm. I was still able to play. I was still able to perform. But the anxieties tightened my body. It allowed it closed my perceptual field. It made things awkward. Mm-hmm. And so I would have said I was coping the best I could, mm-hmm. but it wasn't anything like when I felt free. Mm-hmm. Now, that freedom was something that I was really curious about. So how come we can be, on one hand, really caught up, and on the other hand, we can be free? And is it a matter of mental toughness? And I write about this in the book, because for me, mental toughness, yes, there are times where I would be tougher than others. But here's the thing. For me, I saw, Denise, that's the difference between willpower and free will.
Mm-hmm.
And willpower just felt hard, Rich. It felt like it was perseverance, and it felt arduous to me. And I discovered in my after I left my role as national coach for Scotland that there were times when it was okay. So what's that about?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I could really feel that was probably the difference between expectation and exploration.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform, my expectations, what it meant to me. Would I be letting people down? Would I be letting myself down? So there's a lot of head noise.
Mm-hmm.
When I was able to see that, Denise, you're okay as human life without needing to prove anything.
Mm-hmm.
And really profoundly saw that I was already enough.
Mm-hmm.
I moved from expectation, performing with expectation, to performing with exploration.
Mm-hmm.
I shifted. And when I was performing from a place of curiosity and instinct and intuition and freedom, it felt easy.
Mm-hmm.
And the underlying thing, if you imagine a fork in the road, is one is performing from a space of insecurity, and one is performing from a place of security and understanding that I'm enough already. And that whole shift changed the way I show up and perceive pressure. Sure, I get the heartbeat, the nerves, but I know not to buy into it anywhere near as much as I used to. And it's not using a technique, it's just understanding how the mind is working to create my experience in the moment.
But do you think, because I hear what you're saying, but do you think that you could do that because you built the confidence and the skill set that allow you to go, well, I am enough now? So at the beginning of your career, where you maybe didn't have the proof to say that you were good enough, because obviously the goal is excellence, right, at that age and desire, but then you get to a position where actually, I've now got enough proof to show that I'm good enough, and that allows you to do it. What happens? Does that make sense? And how do you does that make sense?
It does. It does. And what I hear in your question is, so let's take something that's really in this time. So writing this book, okay, I would have, and actually I've got this example. I did this with a group of athletes. The example is in the book. It's called The Thought Spider. And I went through all the thinking that I could get around writing a book. And in The Thought Spider, it says, insecurity, will it be enough? On the other hand, it would be, this is exciting. There's a message here. And so we had 8 legs of the spider. We had 8 different thoughts. So I had no idea. And still have no idea. But there's a message in here that's really strong. And if I'd have gone with the thinking that kept me small, then, and kept me pressured, this wouldn't be in existence. All right. But because I have the understanding, if you like, and another word for understanding is a profound realization. It's a shift. It's a profound shift in understanding about how the mind creates experience. And because I had that shift, and I saw the truth of it, I didn't need to have any evidence. I didn't need to have proof of its success or my skill set before I actually produced the book. So for me, it's about getting a shift in understanding rather than gaining extra skills.
Yeah, I hear that. I could ask a lot more questions, but I want to move us on because I want to look at teams, right? So you've moved from a player, then into coaching, to being part of a team, right? And then you moved into coaching England, being part of that coaching board, then to coach the national England team. So you coached in England, sorry, as a club, then moved into the national Scottish coaching coach.
The Scotland team, yeah.
Scotland, for the Scotland team. When we look at creating high-performing teams, what are your lessons from what you've learned from player, club coach to the national coach? What are the most important things to create a high-performing team?
Yeah. I think the one thing I really learned was, as traditionally we would have codes of conduct, we would have in our creating an elite training environment, we would all agree how we were going to behave. Mm-hmm. And looking back on my career, there would be, you can remember the meeting, you can remember the time when we all agree that we're going to be disciplined, we're going to agree a way to deal with behaviors which didn't, help the whole. We would really look at those values very deeply and agree how we were going to behave for, if you like, the season, the year, or the 4-year cycle. And we would revisit them from time to time. But when I look back now, I see, that's all well and good. Mm-hmm. All the time that athletes are feeling good about themselves. Mm-hmm. It's all well and good when they're in a good mood. Mm-hmm. And it was all behavioral based. So it was all based on a behavioral performance model. Mm-hmm. And when I came across this understanding of the mind, which is known as the 3 principles behind the human experience, as uncovered by the late Sydney Banks, I realized, hold on a second, there is something else here, because people's states of mind are changing all the time. So yes, it felt easy to sit in a room and agree and get encouraged and be motivated and inspired by our code of conduct and agree it. But then in the moment, people's states of mind would fluctuate. And the biggest thing for me was, as a coach, and I had this recently actually, is, am I going to be focused on the behavior and then dealing with that behavior, or am I going to go upstream of that behavior to really understand that that person is just having a fluctuation of state of mind? Mm-hmm. And when that changes, that's going to take their behavior with it. Mm-hmm. So I help people to, if you like, change their relationship to their thinking. And when that happens, if there is one person in the team who is, if you like, not pulling their weight or acting out or is troubled, it doesn't derail like the domino effect everybody else. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, it would have been a big deal. Let's bring them in. There would have been, interviews. It would have been disruptive. Even if it's just for one training session, it would have been disruptive. Mm-hmm. But now I see, if we can create an elite training environment where everybody understands where their experience is coming from and the nature of it, the fact that it is arbitrary, it's fluid, it's transitory, people won't take their thinking about somebody else's behavior so seriously. And they'll return to their heart and soul and the love of the game and their compassion for that person. And it takes away all the judgment and blame. Mm-hmm. And it creates an environment which is really pure, and it creates a oneness. We've seen great teams perform, and we see that when they perform as one, that really is, if you like, the jewel of athletic performance.
Mm-hmm. How? Because I hear that. I hear exactly what you're saying around experiences, right? And I'm thinking about moments where in games or in sport, pressure there, frustrations there, managing emotions, but having that creating that code of conduct was something which I do with clients as well. How do you put them in them situations to then create that code of conduct as well?
So nowadays, we would have a discussion around how it is we want to show up. All right, and we would have conversations around the love of the game and how free we want to feel when we play. So when you say the how, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but because now I wouldn't approach my code of conduct conversation in the same way as I used to. So I'm very much, if you like, helping people to deepen their understanding of life, deepen their grounding, as we would call it in this work, and to play freely. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're looking to play freely. And when one person has a temporary state of mind, they're getting all caught up, the other members of the team, it wouldn't occur to them to and even if they did get thinking around it, the whole idea now is to help them to see that for what it is, and to see that it's optional. It's not inevitable given the circumstance. Okay, so when pressure hits, your experience isn't coming at you, it's coming through you. And if I help players to see that more and more in their lives, then they are going to be able to brush stuff off, bounce back in times of adversity, and they'll avoid the spiral, Rich. They avoid the spiral because they're not giving meaning to their temporary experience, which is taking them lower and lower and lower into the basement where you can't see anything. So it's a completely 180 degrees in the opposite direction to where I would have been in terms of trying to create and trying to, if you like, control and manage behaviors. So now it's more a consciousness performance model. It's now more going upstream and helping players to understand who they are, who and what is performing.
So now, yeah. Okay. I've got an interesting question for you. If you were to do it all again, right? So you're now the coach of Scotland again. How would you get them to be a winning squad? Because, and I'll caveat it, I'll give you more because I can see it just going into concept. You have to train, right? You can't just say to these guys, well, think like this, because there is a balance between behaviour, right? Because you have to show up and practice, you have to run set plays, you have to be fit. How would you, as a now, when you look at it from a team, how would you create that high performing team, and how would you balance the work that you do?
Beautiful. So when you get a group of players, you get a group of athletes in the same room with an incredible amount of inspiration, then you get an involvement and an energy behind that, which is just immense. Okay, so we work with being highly involved, and that means, it does mean hard work. I mean, we have to finely tune our skills. It does mean showing up. It does mean dedication, but it's coming from a place of instinct, if you like. It's coming from a place of love. It's coming from this inspiration to see what's possible through your body and mind. It's not coming from a place of reaching or seeing how far I can get. It's coming from a place of openness and exploration. So the first thing we do is just really harness that power, harness that love for the game. And in that, we know that we have to train hard. We know we have to hit targets, but it's where you're coming from that's everything. Now that is a consciousness performance model. It's not about managing, if you like, our behaviors, because that is a little bit too late. Okay, because we're not then harnessing and using this incredible intelligence that we are as human life. We're missing the trick. So what I help people is to tap into what they've got going for them as this incredible creative potential that we talk about to express themselves.
And the way of expression is through the thing they do, right? Okay, I hear that. And so that would be the training and the practice would be part of that ability to express and to perform on the stage or in the moment, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that expression is wherever it takes you. I mean, we all have these bodies and minds. We all have different loves and skills that come out of that. And the thing I help people to see is be you. Be you. There is one of you. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Be you. Be your expression. What is that? And you just see their eyes light up when they are given permission, if you like, Rich, to be wholly and fully in their own body and mind, and not try to keep comparing themselves to others. It's a disease, a disease of comparison. But if we can be ourselves wholly, and then you get a group of people that are free and have permission to do that, wow, then you're really onto something.
Yeah, I hear that. I just want to touch on kind of the taking the Scotland team from 17th to 12th, right? What was the key? Yeah, what was the key factors that drove that transformation for you?
I mean, at the time, becoming a national coach was interesting because it's like the next progression. And I hadn't been a national coach before, but it was really a natural progression. I don't know why. There's this love, this intuitive love for the sport. You want to see what else you can do. And so I stepped into the role and very much followed my instinct. And I think the question was, what was the key factors?
Yeah.
So I traveled from Gatwick to Glasgow every week for 4.5 years, 65-hour weeks. And I had to, it seems I had to rely on what was coming through me. So I was continually, without knowing anything about the 3 principles understanding of life, I was automatically anyway drawing on my innate resilience and confidence to love, to learn and to be better and to see, well, okay, what's possible. So I remember going in and no disrespect to the Scotland team when I went in there in 2009, but there wasn't a program. There was no program of support. There was no strength and conditioning. The government had decided then to put all of this money in because they were going to be hosting the Commonwealth Games. And they really wanted Scotland netball to be there and qualify in their own right. So I just looked at, okay, what did I know? Well, I'd been England Super League coach, and I draw on that experience, but I also just had to trust that I would come up with ideas. And that's what I did. I saw that in order to be top 8 in the world, you needed a certain amount of caps. You needed a certain amount of experience. So my next question, which I don't know where it came from, was how could I accelerate experience? Because I'd only got 6 years. So, we can accelerate experience. Let's see if we can get people around the world. And that's what we did. How can we help them to be more aware of themselves? How can we help them to trust and be confident about their abilities? And to be able to take on this this program of strength and conditioning in a way which would take their, change and transform their bodies and their minds. And that's what we did. We looked to England. They're up there, top three in the world. We were down there at 17th, but we're human beings, right? So how could I help to shift that? And that's what I did. I just basically got into creating an environment which would be world class, irrespective of the athletes. They weren't world class yet, but let's have a world class mindset. Let's have a look at the world's best, but let's not just try and reach that. Let's see what else we've got. Let's try and beat that. And of course it does take time, and but why not just go straight there to what it is you want to create inside your mind? And that's what I did.
Amazing. So a little bit of like the mind, a little bit of mindset work, a little bit of getting the right people in the right shoes, in the right roles, by the sounds of it, through the experience piece. And then they're the two things I'm really hearing, actually.
Yeah, I put a management team in place and the program support from Sport Scotland, exactly what the world's best were doing. So, I had a look at the world's best. Let's have a look, but let's not try and copy. Let's try and be unique to Scotland.
Yeah, I love that. So the processes as well. Look, you've obviously now spent 5 years writing the book, and I know that there's 7 discoveries, and I know we've touched on a few of those already throughout this. But I want to just explore 2 or 3 that you think would have the biggest impact or translatable impact into the workplace for either individuals looking at performance or leaders. And maybe we can pick out a couple for each. But just be interested to see what ones you think are really important, considering what the conversation we've spoken about, maybe managing pressure, looking at performance and the team kind of stuff. It'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, so I think in terms of business, we're looking to create high performing teams, aren't we? And we're looking to create a sustainable, healthy, happy workforce. So there's a lot of synergies. There's a lot of transference over into the business world. So I would say first and foremost is, and we've done a really good job at highlighting and if you like, taking the stigma out of, mental health. We've done a really good job at that. And, we can talk openly about having an issue, if you like, or having problems with our psychology. But we haven't really gone as far enough. In my mind, we're offering some solutions, but we haven't really gone far enough to provide solutions. So for me, it would be, let's help our people to understand their truth of their identity, their truth or their true nature. Let's really help them to understand that there is nothing to prove. So all of the things that we've been talking about on this call, I would really help in the workplace. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. And people look at people's stress. It's time deprivation. It's pressure from other people. It's, really not being given the chance to express themselves fully. It's a micromanagement. If we create an environment where everybody is free and they can work freely and express themselves freely without people taking it personally, then you're going to have an environment which really grows and blossoms and actually gets the best out of each person. And gets the best out of, basically taps into their creative potential as human life, rather than, if you like, thwart it with processes and structures. And, I know we need processes and structures, but in a way which is healthy.
They're to optimize rather than to put boundaries around, maybe.
Yeah.
So then I'll go back to that kind of question, because I do agree with you, right? The comparisons are very similar within elite sports. This is why I love using them to the workplace. So obviously you go back to that you got 7 discoveries in your Play Freely book. What ones are going to be the most useful for helping creating healthy, high performing teams?
Well, I guess all the discoveries in the book, Rich, are pointing to, if you like, one discovery, which is where our experience comes from. I think for me, that would be the main one would be helping people to wake up to the relationship between their state of mind and performance. Okay. And to help leaders to help others in that respect. So it does remove the blame culture, and it creates, if you like, a culture of freedom and expression. Let me just have a look at my other ones that I would really, I was just looking at them this morning actually, and I think the consistency paradox is also an interesting one, where we are, if you like, innately inconsistent. All right, we sleep, we are awake, we are happy, we're sad, we're motivated, we're demotivated, we're innately inconsistent. Yet we expect ourselves to show up and be consistently better every single day. So if we could have a little bit more understanding, especially in the workplace, that our states of mind are in states of flux, and we wouldn't be so hard on ourselves when targets are not reached. We would be able to be more understanding around the pressures of reaching targets, and be able to come from a little bit more from a place of freedom. And then I've seen then organizations completely bust through targets when they're coming from a place of peace and clarity.
Yeah, I
write about that in the book.
Yeah, I like the consistency paradox, because I think it's something which we do aim for and strive for. And I guess the difference between athletes and employees here is that our employees spend 90%, 95% of our time performing or trying to perform. In comparison, and we switch that to an athlete who's probably the opposite way around, 5 to 10, maybe to 15% maximum of their time performing to training, right? And so actually understanding the consistency of how we can perform over that period of 90%, what helps create that consistency, and what consistency needs to be in that. So I like that term, consistency in performance. But as you say, linking it back to the mind state as well. Like, just last question for you, Denise. What can leaders really take away from this? What can they really start to do differently for their teams? As of like tomorrow, as of next week, what can they take from this podcast or from your book that would help them lead differently?
I think the first thing for me would be to improve their own awareness of their own state of mind, and how it changes moment to moment, and to get curious about what's behind their thinking and how it is that their ideas just come into the mind, and what can they do to open it out and to pool the resources of their teams. Because a lot of employees just rock up and do, this is a big huge generalization, but if you rock up and just do what it is you're supposed to be doing, how can we help them to be part of the greater whole? How can we help them to be innovative? How can we help them to lose the boredom of routine and still follow this potential to be highly innovative? And for me, that is really respecting and tapping into their wisdom. for me to show up as one, to show up as an equal, to lose the whole boss employee old structure, just lose it. Let's just pool it. Let's just pool our resources, because people know who's the boss. They know that's a given. So let's get over that, and let's see if we can work together as one to ensure that the department is the best it can be, from a place of everyone is already okay. Help everyone to feel already secure in their own body.
Yeah. Okay, I guess one thing I haven't done yet, actually, I'm going to ask another question. You keep talking about these 3 pillars to experience. Can you just quickly share those? We haven't actually gone through those, and I think we'll be missing an opportunity not to touch on those, as you just given, like, that's a big part of what people could do. So, yeah, can you just share that?
The 3 principles behind the human experience. So yeah, in 2013, I came across a book called Clarity by Jamie Smart. I then came across another book called Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neal. And I was profoundly impacted by what I heard inside of me, which completely transformed the way I was feeling. And, I could have been in a really dreadful state for 18 months waiting for the Commonwealth Games to come and go. But I didn't. In one moment, I saw that I didn't need to be a victim of the circumstance, and that my thinking is just what I'm creating in my mind. And those books that I read pointed me to the 3 principles behind the human experience, which was uncovered by the late Sydney Banks. And like any paradigm, it takes 50 years to become mainstream, and we're in that space right now. It's 50 years almost, I think, since he brought this to the world. And the 3 principles are just known as mind, consciousness, and thought. And one might also say universal mind, universal thought, universal consciousness. And they're just pointing to this incredible intelligence that we are as human beings. It's pointing to the intelligence that makes my heart beat, my eyes blink, my immune system work. It's pointing to the intelligence of everything in nature. And it's so if we start to see that there's an explanation for how we work, if you know how something works, then you can leverage it. But if you don't know how something works, then it's as if experience is on your eyeballs and you have to deal with whatever's on your eyeballs. But what if through these principles you can start to see, oh, that's how I get to experience life. Oh, wow, that's interesting. And that's what happened to me. I knew that I was making it all up. And I didn't need to take myself so seriously. So there's some beautiful books. There's a beautiful international organization called 3pgc.org, and that has heaps of materials on there, and lots of works from people that have been looking in this direction ever since. So it's a paradigm shift in psychology, which has become world-renowned, and there's going to be a tipping point, I think. And we can see, can't we, in consciousness, people turning towards love and compassion rather than hate and fear.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Denise, I want to thank you first off for joining this podcast. I hope you've had a good time.
I have. It's been really interesting. I wonder if we had any questions come through.
No, nothing come through yet. So keep your eye out for people watching it on record. I guess obviously they can find you on the LinkedIn thing. Is there any on the LinkedIn? Is there anywhere else they can find you if they want to find out more?
Yeah, so I have a new website since the book came out. So www.playfreely.co.uk, or my previous website, which I'm still working with, is info@deniseholland.org.
Amazing. Well, if you want to find out more and ask Denise questions, or even buy a book, they're the places to go to. Thank you again, Denise. I appreciate your time. This will be obviously live for people, or on record for people to watch. But in the meanwhile, I have Phil on next week, which will be uploaded hopefully within the next couple of days, talking about mindfulness, mental health and performance as well. Communication, so be interesting conversation. Keep your eye out for that. For everybody else, have a great finish to the week. Well, it's kind of the start of the week. It's only a 4-day week, wasn't it? So a great start to the week, great week. And I'll speak to you all soon. Other than that, take care. Goodbye. Denise, stay there.